Yes, where are you at with Shanahan? Because you've been a big Shanahan backer.
Yeah. It's
a big-time backer.
I think where I'm at today is there's a couple of things. The first part is quarterback, which is we can't talk about good coaches around the league without talking about quarterback. Very few coaches in the history of the NFL have had sustained success, multiple years of success with multiple quarterbacks. It's really hard to find one good quarterback.
Joe Gibbs did it. He's like the outlier. He won 3 different Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks.
But I'm not even saying Super Bowl. I'm just saying being good. Like Bill Cowher did it with a couple different quarterbacks, but it felt like he couldn't do it back-to-back years.
No, he's got the one Super Bowl. And even then, Ben Roethlisberger was so young that they used a great defense and a strong running game and gadget plays with Hines Ward and Antoine Randall and Willie Parker, of course, to win that Super Bowl against Seattle.
I mean, it's a very short list of people. Like Andy Reid is clearly, Bill Parcells clearly. Like you got, obviously, who you referenced, Joe Gibbs, who's up there.
Mark Rippon, Joe Theismann, Doug Williams under Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
John Shula, as you mentioned.
Shula. But those guys coached for 20 years plus, each of them. Now, I don't know how long Shanahan's going to coach. Some guys, like we were talking about earlier, go their whole career and can never find one quarterback. Or for whatever reason, things don't work out for them with that quarterback. I believe that Kyle Shanahan, through smoke and mirrors, has made Jimmy Garoppolo so much better than what he truly is. If I would have just plopped Jimmy G, and I'm not taking anything away, I think Jimmy is very average at a lot of things. If we were just ranking skill sets, we can sit here and argue about it like, oh, he's got a quick release. He doesn't see the field. He's not mobile. I don't think he throws guys open. I think he has to see the wide open throw before he can make it. I think his accuracy is wildly overrated. Like, I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo, people are knocking their door down to go acquire him. And I think Kyle Shanahan deserves an absolute ton of credit for propping him up. Now, the other side is true as well. Shanahan can't win without Garoppolo. Like, that's a fact right now in terms of the record. But I do believe Shanahan deserves a lot of credit there. I was so looking forward to seeing whether him and Trey could work. That's what that was going to be the ultimate litmus test for me. Was it going to work? So I feel like I have to reserve my judgment on completely crushing the guy until he gets a chance to work with his dude.
Yeah, but you know what? And that's where, and everything you said is on point. But we're like, we have to wait to see him work with Trey Lance. Well, part of the reason why we're not seeing Trey Lance right now is because the way he utilized Trey Lance, Kyle Shanahan. It felt like, man, he doesn't want to let Trey Lance throw. And when I throw these numbers at you and looking at pass attempts, last year the 49ers were 29th in pass attempts. Well, they're on track to be one of the worst teams in the league when it came to pass attempts this season. We saw 3rd and 6 run plays.
But would you throw with Jimmy?
I'm saying throwing with Trey.
Oh.
Throwing the ball with Trey.
Yeah.
Like, Jimmy, I'm saying, well, now with Jimmy, I would like to see him throw with Jimmy just to be like, okay, look, management, John Lynch, Adam Peters, Jet York, Parag Marate. I can't win with Jimmy. I opened up the playbook. I can't win with Jimmy. We saw that at the end of the Super Bowl when he dialed up 4 pass plays in a row at midfield with the minute 49 left and 3 timeouts. I'm thinking, Shanahan, run the ball. Remember, I was in that room. Run the ball, Shanahan. Run the ball. You don't need to throw it. You don't need to leave time for Mahomes. Run the ball. Not only that, because Garoppolo's off right now. You got to take the ball out of his hands. There's so many games where I've seen Garoppolo throw an interception and the Niners come back that next offensive possession and they just stick to the run. They maybe throw one pass play in there. I remember the Cincinnati game back in 2019. Garoppolo throws a pick. There was like 5 Bengals there. Remember that? It was like, what the hell is going on here? The next possession, Shanahan goes right down the field. It was like 6 run plays, 1 pass play. That's what we do. You got to take the ball out of his hands. But with Trey Lance, the playbook and the game plan, we're all waiting to see Trey Lance throw that ball. That's what we've been waiting for, right? A deep, down-the-field, accurate passer. We're all excited about that with Trey Lance. And then we saw him running the ball. And we saw him running the ball over and over and over again. And we're thinking, where's the boot action? Where's the passing plays on 3rd down? Why? Unleash him. I get he's young, but unleash him. How much better did Jalen Hurts get last year, taking all those bumps and bruises, throwing all those interceptions, going to the playoffs, takes that tape, goes into the offense, you add A.J. Brown, and now look at Jalen Hurts. He looks like an entirely different quarterback.
You're 100% right. But Jalen Hurts has the luxury of 25 career starts.
No doubt.
And now it's starting to pay dividends. Too many people are so quick, he's not ready. We do this crazy thing, Lance not ready, which you're listening to idiots who weren't at practice watching people throw footballs.
I thought Lance was ready. I thought Lance was literally ready to go last year, and he could have worked out the kinks,
It's going to be a work in progress. Like, that's what people don't understand. It's going to be, like, is their center ready? Is Jake Brendel ready?
No.
You know, he doesn't look like he's ready. Like, this thing that people aren't ready is just ridiculous. You got to play and have an opportunity to grow. And I feel like they've totally pinned themselves in. So if you're asking about Shanahan, the biggest problem right now for Shanahan is his own, whether it's him, Peters, Lynch, I don't even know. Some of their own stubbornness on personnel has boxed them in terms of their game-to-game operations. And that's the way. I truly believe. I think when it comes to opening up the playbook, setting people up for success, I think he's really good at that. Where I think he struggles with the relationship portion, game management situations, and his own personnel decisions.
Right. So a lot of people talk about Jalen Hurts playing at Alabama. I actually thought he got better when he played at Oklahoma.
No, he played way better. He could not throw at Alabama.
Alabama got his job took by Tua. Tua Tagovailoa took his job in Alabama. Oklahoma's where he started to thrive with CeeDee Lamb and Lincoln Riley. Now, you talk about game day decisions, roster management. Again, giveaways, takeaways. The Niners have been in the bottom half with the exception of 2019. 2019 is the outlier for everything. Offensive ranking, points per game, all that stuff. 2019 was a special year. Hands down, the best team under Kyle Shanahan. But you talk about relationships. You talk about communication. And that's where I see D'Amico Ryans on that sideline on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying to myself, and everybody, you heard Mark Willard, you better not get used to D'Amico. He's going to be God. To me, Shasky, that's a guy I don't want to leave the building. I don't want him to leave the building. I don't. I see him, and it's contagious. His energy is contagious towards that defense. He's jumping up and down. He's high-fiving. They're flying to the football. This defense has gotten better under D'Amico.
Didn't we say that about Saleh?
We did.
And they found a guy unknown out of nowhere. To give Kyle credit.
But D'Amico's been in the system for a while.
No doubt. He's found great coordinators.
Yes.
And I questioned Saleh for like a whole 2 years. I questioned Saleh, and I was wrong on Saleh. Saleh did a great job. D'Amico may be better. He may be worse than Saleh. I'll give Kyle this. He's replenished that defensive side of the ball in terms of the staff.
No doubt.
But so in terms of building a staff, he does a great job there.
But you talk about relationships and communication and all that jazz. Doesn't it feel like D'Amico communicates a lot better than Shanahan right now? I know it's tough as a coordinator because we see him. He's calling the plays. He's into his defense. It just feels like he's a guy I don't want to leave the building. And then I look at all the other coaches around him and the coaches that have left Shanahan. And I look at Anthony Lynn. We all think highly of Anthony Lynn. But then you go back to his Charger days. Why did Anthony Lynn get fired? Spinoni knows. He's a Raider fan. He sees Anthony Lynn in the AFC West. Decision-making. 4th and 1s, go to goals, when to go for it, when not to go for it. That destroyed Anthony Lynn with the Chargers. Destroyed him.
Andy Reid is still having problems, but he has the one Super Bowl, and so he's above criticism.
But here's what I'm getting at with Anthony Lynn.
People were going crazy when him not taking a timeout with Mahomes the other day.
No doubt. Here's what I'm getting at.
Him and Bieniemy were arguing as they were coming off the field.
No doubt. Here's what I'm getting at with Anthony Lynn, though. Who's the guy to help Shanahan on game day with these decisions? Who's like McVay? Remember he first came out, he learned the game. He had Wade Phillips. Yeah. He had
the clock management guy.
He had so much experience on that coaching staff in the front office. We got to remember, John Lynch is a first-time GM. Shanahan is a first-time head coach.
Yeah, but they're 6 years in.
Like 6 years in,
I wipe that away.
But who is helping these guys with decision makings? There's still nobody telling Shanahan, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, because he has full autonomy in the team. Full autonomy in decision-making and the personnel and the play calling.
The game situation or the situational management game to game, it leaves a lot to be desired.
It's a nightmare.
You know, like, here's a great example. Just the other day, okay? It's 3rd and long with 10 minutes to go, okay? You have to understand you're in 4-down territory, all right? You're down by 1 point. You're at the 47. And you throw an underneath pass that gets knocked down, and it's just, to me, that's 4-down territory. Get me 3 or 4 yards right there. And again, we could argue about the quarterback or this, that, and the other, but you end up punting from your own 47. When you went for it, the week prior against Seattle. Right. Now, you can say, Joe, circumstances were different. The settings were different. It's not Russell Wilson. But, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of inconsistencies within the own game of going for it and when not to go for it. Kyle, it feels like he's flipping a coin out there at times. Like the short yardage situation stuff, I can think on my head, there's been 2 times he's won a game. One of them was the Ram game last year where he threw to Kittle on a 4th and 2 and ended up changing that game, where he's won a game being aggressive.
Yep.
And I wish that he would be more aggressive, and I understand why he doesn't, and I feel like it goes right back to the confidence in the quarterback.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. But
it also feels like a crutch. It also feels like a crutch.
How long can you use that excuse? Hold on. You are listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and AC1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Download the Odyssey app and favorite 95.7 The Game for the best and most up-to-date sports coverage. And do not forget, you can also watch us every day on our YouTube and Twitch streams. Just log on and search 95.7 The Game. YouTube, what is happening? Twitch, what is happening? Comcast Business Text Line, I see ya. And good morning to everybody out there calling, getting ready for work. 888-957-9570. Keep going back to the quarterback. I'm tired of hearing about the quarterback because we know who he is. How long are we going to use this crutch that Jimmy G isn't the answer? Jimmy G's not the answer. Why is he still here? Why is the head coach telling everybody on a Friday he's one of the best throwers on the planet?
Well, he's trying to prop him up.
It's too late for that.
He's trying to prop him up.
That relationship is damaged. Here's what Steve Young said yesterday.
I don't dismiss that.
Here's what Steve Young said yesterday about the relationship between Kyle and Jimmy.
The trust between head coach Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo has never been what it needed to be.
Yeah.
How do I gain trust? Because how did he try to manage the situation? I managed with a great, innovative running game. Yeah, it's really one of the best in the league.
Exactly. Yes.
They don't have the runner now. Yes. They've got people hurt. So there's no way to not expose this lack of trust. It has to come out now, and they have to see if they can work it out.
They've never had trust between each other. Or Shanahan hasn't trusted Garoppolo. So the Garoppolo excuse saying, I don't trust Garoppolo. Well, you know what, Shanahan? You had many chances to move off of him. Many. And yet he's still here. You don't get that excuse anymore. So, I can't go there anymore. We know who Garoppolo is. We know he's a game manager. We know he's going to miss throws. We know the Jimmy O-No throws are coming. I know all that stuff. But part of the reason why he's here is because of the head coach.
I can't argue that part. I really can't. I mean, I really can't. But going back to, the trusting thing, at some point, Jimmy's just got to make some plays, for crying out loud. Guys are open. Not all the time, but there are guys open, and he just skips balls. Or he makes horrible decisions. I mean, Mark Willard, to his credit, I'm listening to him yesterday, saying it over and over, and he's so right. It's first down. And Jimmy, not Kyle, Jimmy, first down, is throwing into triple coverage to Debo, who's not open at all. At some point, we got to look at some of these players and say, dude, you got to play better. Now, look at the screenplay from the one.
That's on Shanahan.
Agreed. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. But there's other times in the game where you're like, come on, guys, make a play for me here.
Right. But see, and I agree with that. Garoppolo's got to make plays. But he hasn't made those plays.
I know.
He hasn't made those plays. After the 2019 Super Bowl, or 2020, early February, the 2019 season, Shanahan basically told us in that game he doesn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. So he's back for 2020, 2021, and 2022. We knew 3 years ago he didn't trust his quarterback. Yet he's still here?
Well, it's hard to move off people when you have guaranteed money. I mean, that goes back to the personnel.
They had opt-out clauses, though.
I know.
April 1st, they had opt-out clauses for Jimmy. They could have moved off this guy forever.
So we've hearing a lot about Sean Payton, though, B. Right? We've heard a lot about Sean Payton. If I just took Drew Brees away from Sean Payton, does everyone still want him? They won the one Super Bowl, and I'm not taking it away from them.
Sean Payton was really good as a coordinator with the New York Giants.
Horrific losses.
You know what, though?
Horrific losses in the playoffs.
You know what, though? Sean Payton had really good seasons with Kerry Collins in New York. Dallas, they made some things happen. In Dallas, as an offensive coordinator, New Orleans, he built that team up, and they were one of the most potent offenses throughout his tenure. They were one of the most potent offenses. Yes, they have a lot of playoff failures.
Huge ones.
Huge gaps. Huge ones. That's what happens in the NFL. Andy Reid has them. Belichick has them. Bill Walsh has them.
So then
George Seifert has them.
Why
Mike
can't we
Holmgren
extend that to Shanahan?
We do.
You think we do?
We do. But he's had 4 losing seasons out of 6. Or excuse me, three losing seasons out of 5 so far. Mm-hmm. And so far they're 1-2.
If I were to flip it and say, hey, they had Drew Brees here on this offense. I feel like a lot of the issues that we've got with Shanahan go away.
But I go back to, you could have had Tom Brady.
I can't be. That's the guy I wanted. I know. It drives me nuts.
A lot of people wanted him.
Nuts.
But he could have had Tom Brady.
I know.
And he could have had Deshaun Watson.
And they whiffed.
He could have had Patrick Mahomes.
I know.
He could have maybe traded for Matthew Stafford. He had Trey Lance. And he ran him like a fullback. So all these excuses we keep going back to, it goes back to Shanahan. And that's why my faith in him, long term, like, I'm going to watch this season no matter what. The Niners could be 1-10. I'm going to be locked in on Shanahan.
Yeah, that's
I'm
obvious.
like that. No, it's not obvious because some people will tune out.
Okay.
But I'm going to be watching and saying, does the team quit on him? Do they get better when it comes to committing penalties? Do they get better when it comes to takeaways? Again, they lost a takeaway game against Denver on Sunday night.
I know.
They lost a takeaway game again. And they've been in the bottom half of the league when it comes to takeaways, giveaways throughout his tenure. That's a trend. Yeah. This is a trend, Shasky. The pass attempts.
I can't argue those trends.
The points per game. The points per game, they've been in the 20s 4 times now in the last 6 years. So far, they're in the 20s.
Look, this is why I'm so conflicted with Shanahan. Because I do believe the guy does so many great things out on the field. Because I see guys open and you're like, wow, this guy's a stud, and this guy's a stud, and this guy's a stud. And then I go back to this basic question. Joe, are you more confident in him and quarterbacks and fixing that situation now or when they started in 2017?
You were more confident in 2017, huh?
I feel like I was.
You're not confident now. I know you're not. And I know a lot of Niner fans aren't.
There's just so much unknown. I feel like there's more question marks.
A lot of question marks.
I mean, they had nothing. They were starting from scratch. And I feel like nothing's changed. And that's the biggest disappointment. And they've had so much success. And they've had some down years. They have had so much success. But the biggest frustration is you don't have the quarterback spot fixed. And that's the thing that's like,
He hasn't fixed the quarterback spot. And it's year 6. AJ Freeball, before we hit the break. AJ Freeball, what's happening? He's listening on his car radio. He's on the road. What's up, AJ?
Guys, good morning, and I'm always, on this morning, and
Thank you.
I hear you guys all the time. So 2 things,
Thank you.
Right? I mean, one thing is we all know that DeMarco Ryans will be gone end of the season. He goes, he's going to take few good, people with him. Now, the way offense is going down the hill, we have defense is gone, so we're not going to have a defense guy sitting on the team with us. And Kyle Shanahan is Kyle Shanahan. From last, history speaks for himself. So what happens to Jed York? Do you really think that he's going to sit back and say, oh, wow, I got to rebuild the team again? That's my first question. Second thing is that the way Jimmy handled the media, that was highly unprofessional.
What part?
I mean, blaming the people. When he said, oh, I was not in sync with these guys.
Oh, yeah.
Their team. This was his team from 5 years. This is his team. I mean, He was never off. I understand he went through all this kind of stuff, but you can't blame on these people at all. Be a man, take responsibility, and say, guys, I screwed up. I got to fix my game. Period.
Yep, no, you're right.
Emotional intelligence is the number one attribute in sports for my leaders, right? You look at Steph Curry, emotional intelligence. Josh Allen, you see him, self-awareness, emotional intelligence.
I saw a little bit with Trey Lance.
When I look at Jimmy Garoppolo, the last thing I think about is emotional intelligence. He just be saying stuff.
Yeah, hey, I'm not in game shape, yada, yada, yada. Last week it was like ride the bike, you're comfortable. This week
and it wouldn't matter if he was spectacular,
right?
But he's not spectacular.
No, he's not. All right.